I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts,
Abraham
and Nick.
How are you guys doing tonight on this spooky Halloween evening?
Ooh.
Cold.
Yeah, it's cold out, that's for
Dude.
sure.
Yeah.
I was at work and I was moving, bro. I was moving. And I was cold still. I was shaking. And today was the first day I didn't take a jacket because I was like...
Were you shaking because you felt the chill of the shape's breath on your neck? Going...
Dude, if... No. If I heard that, I'm flipping out.
What about you?
Not a spooking sight, man. I feel
Ah!
I wish I would have like dropped my water all over and just got everything jacked up. Not a spooking sight. I don't know, it doesn't feel like Halloween at all to me.
Well, I guarantee you, if tomorrow you go spend it with family, it will.
Yes, that's true. Seeing the little kiddos run around.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find out who has
I'm the candy quality assurance checker, dude. I'm saying
No razor blades.
Let me taste that. That's good. You know, like
yeah, that one's good.
yeah, that one's good. Thank you.
I've instilled in my nieces and nephews that I get candy tax.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'm like, I came along, so I get candy tax. So I get 2 pieces of candy from each of you. And they're always like, okay, well, you get the Smarties. And
yeah,
I'm like,
the garbage
I'm like,
ones.
no. I want Kit Kats. I want Twix. I want Milky Way. I want Butterfinger. Like, give me all that.
Butterfingers on the bottom of the list, by the way.
Butterfingers
Butterfingers
at the top.
goated.
At the top. Also,
Butterfingers are a go-to movie snack for me.
Really?
Butterfinger unwrapped.
Dude, the little
minis.
squares.
Nah, Reese's.
I even like those
bruh.
Butterfinger ice creams, like the dibs.
Yeah.
No.
Those are gas.
So good.
They're gas.
No. Reese's
Yeah.
Pieces?
No. Reese's Pieces taste different than regular Reese's.
Yeah, they're not the same.
Well, yeah.
They're not the same.
They're doo-doo draws to me.
Those are so fire.
No,
Just give me M&Ms.
give me peanut M&Ms. That's all.
Peanut butter M&Ms are better than peanut M&Ms.
No,
No.
you gotta go to jail for that.
No,
man.
peanut butter M&Ms are the top tier.
No.
Peanut M&Ms.
I just want the classic. Like,
How much, dude? I
Like something
consumed.
you
No,
can
if I'm
get-
gonna have the classic, it has to be the minis.
The minis are different too.
yeah.
Like you eat them all. You eat like you have. You know, it's like that little,
little
barrel,
tube.
2 glugs, and they're gone.
Yeah.
What, do that again?
Hold your thought. Okay. I'm surprised they don't give you like all the popcorn balls. What's up with the
Dude.
popcorn balls, dude?
All
I remember
know,
used to get those in
listen,
school and chucking them.
Like,
Listen, no, I'm not joking.
Like a snowball.
I'm not joking. A couple of friends and I used to know the houses that would prolifically give out popcorn balls and apples and carrots.
That's garbage.
And
That's
we
a
would
dentist's
and,
house.
No, and we would say they deserve to get egged. Like they deserve
I've
to
never
get
got
to get
apples and carrots.
to get
What?
messed with, bro. Because how are you gonna give that out on Halloween? Like
like a whole apple.
like apples and like raw carrots. Like,
you would think that's
like straight up like Bugs Bunny. What's up, Doc? Like putting that in your Halloween bag.
That's
I'm chucking it back at you, dude.
that's got to be more expensive than just buying a bag of candy.
Yes.
Got to.
That
Well,
is just
nowadays.
counterproductive. That's a dentist. I've seen people give out like toothbrushes and stuff,
That's no.
which
I've
is
seen people
just-
give out ramen.
Packets of ramen.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Actually, it was so funny.
So let me ask you this, guys. Whenever you did go trick or treating, because I didn't get to go trick or treating until later in my life. Whenever I was a kid, whenever it came to like sorting out your candy, what were you eating first? Was it like the chocolatey stuff, the sour stuff, the fruity stuff?
So here's the thing, I hated sour stuff.
Okay, so you weren't eating like
I
like
was not
nerds,
No.
sour strips.
So
like
me and my
nothing
brother,
like
Dude,
that?
nerds
me and my brother would literally get our candy and dump it together,
and split it up,
Communist over here, dude.
dude.
and
For the people, by the people.
Yeah, seriously.
And so I would get what I wanted, and I'd say, you can have whatever you want from whatever's left. Of course, I'm taking the Kit Kats, the Reese's, and the Snickers. But I'll leave him some. I won't take them all. But I'm taking majority. And then I go for, like, the gummies.
Okay.
And then if I don't have any gummies after that,
Dude, I'll
I'm
tell you
done.
something.
I'm done.
I don't think you understand the treasure that it would be to me if I found a gummy Krabby Patty.
Yeah, man.
Those.
in my
The
Halloween
spooky gummy
bag,
Patty.
I'd be like, dude,
Yeah,
every
okay,
little
okay.
piece.
No,
Bun,
no.
pickle, meat, like
Okay,
every
No,
my
you
question-
gotta eat it separate. You gotta eat it.
No,
no,
I
you
eat
gotta
it
you
every
gotta have it
piece
stacked
separate.
up, and
No, you gotta eat it
I
separate.
eat every piece separate.
I do that too. But I feel like it's made for.
So I'll tell you, like, whenever I got home, I separated all the chocolate. That got eaten first.
Oh, okay.
And then all, like, the fruity, like, Skittles, things like that, that was eaten second. Sour stuff was last. And, like, the sour stuff was always, like, I always included, like Smarties
Yeah.
and, like, Runts. You remember that? Runts?
no.
Like, yeah,
It was
like
like these,
bottle
like, those- it
caps.
was like
Like,
these, like,
bottle caps.
Yeah, no, Runts were, like, these little, they looked like little fruits. Like, they were, like, little, like,
Yes,
tiny
yes,
bananas and limes
Oh!
and cherries
They
and
have
oranges.
like it's like yes, I know exactly what you're
Yes.
talking about.
Those were at the bottom.
Yes.
Like, I was like, I'm not freaking eating these. I'll eat these if I have to.
No, dude, the bottom is like milk duds and sugar babies.
Oh, and
Sugar daddies and sugar babies are the worst.
Whoppers.
Dude, they will pull.
Whoppers suck.
Whoppers are.
Whopper. Junior.
Whoppers are for like grandmas.
Yeah, I hated Whoppers.
You gotta like suck on those things.
They're like malty.
Yeah, dude, I hated them.
The chocolate on the outside, and you bite down is like powder. On the
Yeah.
I can't
It was
handle
I
it.
used
terrible.
to
I
just
hated
like,
it.
I used to love them, and then
Freak.
I'm like, what is this?
No.
No, hey, call me a freak, but I usually go for the Hershey's Nuggets. You ever seen those?
No, you know what's a delicacy?
They're.
Is Hershey's hugs. If you get a hug,
I've never seen the hug.
oh my gosh.
I've gotten a few kisses, but the Nuggets, they look like little. They're not the flat ones. You
They're
know how
like
you
the
get
little
like
squares. They're the little
Yeah,
squares.
but
Oh,
they-
the thick squares.
yeah, the thick
Yes,
ones.
yes, I know
and
what
there's
you're
like
talking
stuff
about.
with crushed peanuts.
Yeah,
in it,
yeah.
And
the
there's
crackle.
Or
You
they
like
have-
the
yeah.
crackle.
the dark chocolate
one.
Dude,
Dude,
no. You like the dark caca. You like the. That's why it has
Dude.
caca in the name.
That
you
is
know?
what I go
It's
for.
cacao, dude.
Yeah, but it says caca in it, dude.
No. Dude, dark
That's why it
chocolate.
tastes like butt because
Dark
it has
chocolate's-
caca in it.
Dark chocolate's for real men, bro.
Yes, call
Dark
me a
chocolate's
freak.
so good.
Call me a little boy.
Dark chocolate is so good.
No,
you
I
need to
don't-
grow up.
No. What's that mean when you don't like sweet and sour sauce?
Yes, you need
Yeah.
to grow up.
And he's all,
No, I'll take Nuggets any day.
yeah.
Chocolate first, and then I got a soft spot for Skittles too.
Dude,
Yeah.
give me. I
The
have
purple
A
bag.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for dums.
The
Dum
suckers?
Yeah.
Those were a classic.
Yeah.
Dude, a cream soda dum.
Yeah, you go to Do It Bass, 10 cents. Get a little
Yeah.
dum dum.
I used to always, or no, it was Tootsie Pops. You'd look for the star,
Star.
on your wrapper. And
Is
be
that
like, if
is
you-
that legit?
I remember it being, I remember like my grandma
What does that
telling me it
mean?
was a thing. So like back in the day, if you got a Tootsie Pop and your wrapper had a star on it, you were able to go take that wrapper into the store and get another one for free if
Yeah.
it had a star on it. And so like growing up as a kid, ever I had one, I'd look and be like, "Oh, I got a star," but then they didn't do it anymore, so I just throw them away.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, regardless, reflecting on all the nostalgia and the Halloween activities, how would you guys feel if you spent one Halloween with a psycho killer chasing you guys? Start having me dancing in the big suit.
Dude.
I feel like I would survive, low key.
Especially with this guy?
If you're
Yes.
quick,
Okay.
yeah.
I could definitely survive. I feel like a lot of these people are blind and they just make some awful decisions.
Okay, now I want to ask you guys something as well. Because we've recorded an episode on another film that took heavy influence from this film.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I noticed so many parallels in it. And we just got confirmed it's going to get a sequel now.
Yeah.
And we recorded an episode, the one that I'm thinking of is It Follows. And looking back on It Follows and then finishing up this movie that we're talking about today, I was like, man, the influence is like, it's stark. Like, you can tell that there was some heavy influence here. So I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do with the sequel that they're confirming now, because
Could be anything.
the story could go so many different ways. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Hopefully it's good. So
The ending of that movie led us, like,
it
to
even
believe.
it even ends in a similar fashion where we're kind of like, did it
Oh,
ever really
shoot,
leave?
yeah.
You know,
Could be, couldn't be.
it still
Is
could
it-
be there.
So they left it open. So I'm actually, like you said, I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what they do with it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
today we're talking about the Halloween staple, the absolute classic that has spawned what feels like thousands of sequels and reboots and people dressing up as this character for Halloween and so on and so forth. We're talking about John Carpenter's Halloween. This came out in 1978, was written by John Carpenter and Debra Hill, and directed by John Carpenter. And I don't know about you guys, but it has taken me such a long time to actually sit down and watch this movie for the first time.
Yeah, me too.
And I got to say, by the end of it, I was kicking myself and being like, why did it take me so long to watch this? And I think ultimately it has to do with me being so scared of scary movies as a kid and like finally opening up to them and recognizing that there is really good horror movies out there. And yeah, I wish I would have watched this sooner because I really enjoyed this film. I had a lot of a good time with it.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was just talked about so much that you didn't really have to watch it to know exactly who he is and the story around it and all
Right.
that. It was like just already so culturally relevant
Yeah, especially for us. I
Yeah.
mean, we grew up like in the 2000s
with
late
all the
90s.
Freddy vs. Jason, all
Dude,
that.
Freddy vs. Jason has to be one of the greatest.
Yeah, and like we grew up with that stuff. So these characters were household names whenever we were growing up.
Yeah.
Like I think about this often sometimes. I remember I think it was in about maybe 3rd or 4th grade. And I saw like so whenever I grew up in Fresno, and I guess just, you know, throughout my life whenever I was going to school, my parents would always turn on the news in the mornings whenever we were getting ready and eating breakfast before we go to school. And I remember one year during Halloween, the local news station was advertising this like haunted house that was taking place in Fresno. And they like were showing some of the characters that they were doing and all this stuff. And I remember seeing somebody dressed up as Michael Myers with the mask and the jumpsuit and all this stuff and everything. And I remember seeing the image of his face and like seeing just how emotionless it is and like all this stuff. I remember seeing it and then writing about it. And like we did like these like weekly journal type things whenever we were in school. And I remember she told us to write something about Halloween or something like that. And I didn't know what the character's name was. So I think like as a 3rd grader, I called him like Whitehead Dead Man, like or like something like that. But then I remember thinking back about it and I was like, that had to have been Michael Myers, right? That's the only thing that makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Or
Or Hellraiser.
Pinhead.
Yeah, or like Pinhead, Hellraiser, or something like that. But like, yeah, as a kid, I never knew these characters' names or anything like that, but they were ingrained in my mind
Mhm.
because
No,
they were already household names.
it can't be Pinhead because he'd be like guy with sticky things in his head.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
porcupine needle guy.
Yeah,
So, yeah, he's this guy's been around
Yeah.
all my life. I've never had to sit down to watch a movie to know exactly who he is and what his deal is.
Yeah.
So that's probably why this was my first watch.
yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about with you guys. We said that this is all of our first watches,
Yeah.
correct?
This is it's my first watch for this one, but not for Halloween. Like I've seen Last Halloween was one of them that I've seen, but I watched that a long time ago.
Okay.
But it is my first watch for this movie.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear what we think about the first in the series. And I don't know. I know that there are like what feels like maybe 8 or 9 of them now,
Yeah,
probably.
there's quite a bit.
And I'm skeptical to go watch the other ones just because I know that it's not John Carpenter's vision and it's not like what he originally envisioned for the movies. So I kind of just want to like keep it to that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm also curious as to like, well, where do they think it goes? Because they're on movie 12 now, or something. Yeah. So I don't know. There's a little bit of curiosity there for me, but then there's also like everything that I read about all of them is that they're bad.
Yeah. If anything, it'll give you more appreciation for the original.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you'll be able to look back on it and be like, dude, that was so good compared to what I just watched.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe I'll do that.
So who knows?
So yeah, we're gonna be talking about Halloween. If you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. It is streaming for free on a couple of platforms. I remember seeing it was platforms like Crackle and like Philo TV and things like that. And if not, pick it up. It's a great movie, or rent it or something like that on your preferred streaming platform. It's a classic for a reason, and it's included in like that one list that you see where it's like 1,001 movies you should see before you die. So if you call yourself a cinema lover and you haven't seen a movie like this, go do it. It is mandatory viewing. Because I mean, we just talked about a movie that was so influential to the horror genre, being Psycho. And I think this movie as well would go on to be an incredibly influential movie for the horror genre to come.
Yeah, it's factual. I mean, I think of all the tropes that people get so tired of. This is like the first movie that like started that.
Yeah.
Where you have the people who are like kind of oblivious, making kind of stupid decisions and paying the price for it.
Yeah.
And like running away and tripping and stuff. It's kind of all stems a little bit from this.
From Halloween.
And it was new. This was new.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so played over and over again.
Yeah. This came out again in 1978, and subsequently after the movie had come out and everyone saw what a success it was in the box office, all of a sudden the slasher genre just became the most popular horror film. That's where you got movies that came out afterwards like Friday the 13th and like numerous other one-off slashers. I'm thinking of one, I think it's called like Sleepaway Camp, where it's like some random killer comes and kills people. Like it became
like
so popular in the 80s.
Friday the 13th would be considered a slasher, no?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Halloween was the one that kind of, I mean,
sparked it all.
Halloween isn't the first slasher movie.
Of course.
But it was the one that got it on everybody's radar, where they were like, this is something that could really not only, keep people in their seats and scare people, but also make a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was reading that, or the budget was like around like $300,000. And if I'm not mistaken, Abe, I think it made like close to 47 million.
Yeah, I'll hit you with it right now, actually. It made 47.1 million worldwide.
In 1978.
Yeah.
And I had read a fact that at the time that they had put this into IMDb, they said that in 2008, $47 million in 2008 was worth $150 million.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
Based on an original $300,000 budget.
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah. So the movie is incredibly successful, and like, and again, this is like one of those things too, where the film started out as an indie production. Like, these guys didn't have enough money for a wardrobe department, so like all the actors in here are wearing their own clothing. And like they even, I read something that really made me laugh actually, where like they didn't have enough money to like have a ton of cars or anything like that in the movie.
Yeah.
And so the station wagon that Michael Myers drives throughout the film was actually rented from a car rental agency for 2 weeks. They slapped logos on it and put a grate up in the back to make it look like a government issued vehicle. And then whenever they returned it, the car rental agency like never even knew that their car was a part of this film. And little things like that.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I even remember seeing something about like the making of The Mask. the iconic mask.
Yes, do you have more about that?
Yeah, and I had originally saw that they had come up with like 2 different ideas for what it was going to be. And one was supposed to be like this clown mask that had this like red, like curly hair on it. And it was supposed to be a lot more like clown, scary type look and all this stuff. And then they landed on what was the actor William Shatner.
Yes.
So
I had read that, but I don't know. Is that true? They based it off of his face?
Yeah, so they based
what?
it off of William Shatner's face when he played a character named like Captain James Kirk or something like that. But then what they did was they like ripped off the eyebrows and cut out his eyes and then painted it all white. And whenever they put the 2 masks side by side with one another, they said that the one that we now have felt more emotionless and more cold, and they ultimately decided to go with that one because it felt more creepy. And ultimately John Carpenter had this theme where he wanted nobody to be able to relate to Michael Myers, and that kind of pushed that theme a little bit further in the fact that you couldn't ever really see any emotion on this guy's face whenever he was in the act of doing
It's
anything.
just like
It literally is. Yeah, it just looks like his eyes are opened, even like.
yeah, it just looks like black,
Yeah.
soulless eyes. Holy moly! I'm looking at pictures right now, and it's even like throughout the other films too. It's consistently creepy.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great film. You guys should watch it. So if you haven't already done so, do it. We're going to be talking about spoilers as per usual. So if that's something that bugs you, pause it, come back. If you don't care, continue listening. But we'll go ahead and start it off with our first favorite scenes. So for me, I really enjoyed the intro here.
I was about to say that intro with the dun, 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 dun.
It's iconic.
Absolutely iconic.
And the fact that John Carpenter was able to make this score for this film and compose that now iconic piece within 3 days, I'm told, is
Insane.
it's insane.
It is.
To be able to come up with something that is now that iconic, where you can play the, like, Michael Myers is a Fortnite character now.
Literally.
And like,
Yes.
and he has an emote where he literally plays the thing and has a knife and goes dong dong.
Really?
I have it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and like he is that solidified in pop culture now that you can.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, it's good to a certain extent because I mean, at some points, some kid who has never heard of him is going to be like, "Who is the Shape? Who is Michael Myers?" And they're going to stumble across this film at one point or another,
Maybe.
right? But then it also gets kind of
It
gets kind of
overplayed.
it gets kind of a
Overplayed a bit.
gray area, right? Too, because then like same thing happened with Kratos, and then you have kids who be like, "That's that guy from Fortnite,"
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, no, he's so much more than that.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I know. I just feel like when I see like someone wearing his costume, I'm like,
You
oh
know what
yeah,
it is.
oh it's funny, you know. Or it's like there's always there's especially those memes that go around too where both people will dress as Michael Myers and they're gonna stab each other, but then they go and hug, but they're still like real stiff and
Yeah.
emotionless.
Yeah.
So I just feel like he's like maybe too much in the cultural relevancy to be scary now, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
because like
Because
I kind of hate it when little kids do it.
I don't know.
Because it's like, obviously not going to be scared of a little kid.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'd rather be Chucky or something, but they're
Yeah.
Michael Myers, but they're like 3 feet tall, and you're like, bro, I could just kick you,
Yeah.
I get that.
punch you across the football field.
But you.
But yeah, I have to say I really did enjoy the intro because it starts off with that iconic score, and I also loved the real like slow zoom into that
Pumpkin.
jack-o'-lantern,
Yeah.
and just as it's going in, you just see the credits rolling and all this stuff, and then it took somebody pointing it out to me, but whenever it ends on the credits, it kind of ends over like the pumpkin's like right eye and nose. And the right eye kind of looks like a cutout of his head, Michael Myers' head.
Does it really?
And then the nose looks like his knife.
Does it?
Yeah, it's like a big sharp triangle, and then there's a slit between the nose and the mouth. So it looks like the knife that he's holding.
What?
And I was like, that's such an incredible little detail right there. I thought it was super cool.
That's no.
But then it goes from that credit intro into
Whoa.
the POV.
The POV really caught me off guard.
It did for me too. And at first I was thinking, okay, this is like a handheld cam. This is probably around the time that The Shining was made as well. So Steadicam was like still a new technology and they're using it here. This is great, right?
Yes.
And then like we're watching this couple go up to this house and they're kind of like kissing and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden they move from the doorway to the couch and they're kissing again and talking about how it's Halloween night and everything. And then as they're kissing and everything, the boy that's kissing on this girl says like, "Where's your brother tonight? Where is he?" And she's like, "Oh, he's around here somewhere." Michael, and is looking. And then this is where we kind of start to notice like, oh, we're Michael right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm watching these people from outside their window.
Yep.
And they're actively calling for the person that I am in the perspective of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. If this is a POV shot, I'm liking this. And so, you know, they're sitting there calling for him, and they're not paying attention. And eventually they're like, well, he's not answering, so he must not be here. Let's go upstairs and let's fool around with one another, right? And so as they're doing that, our POV takes us into the back side of the house. And, you know, this is whenever the POV shot really gets solidified too, because we see a hand kind of reach out for a knife.
Yeah, and it's small.
Yeah, and it's a smaller hand. It looks like it's wearing like a jester type costume. It's got like a little like cuff link around and all this stuff, and it's all distorted too, which I really liked by the camera. So he grabs this knife and he kind of walks away, and then there's like a clown mask on the floor, and he grabs it, and I loved seeing him put the mask up to the camera, and now we take the POV with us wearing the the mask,
and it's all like you can barely see what's going on.
Yeah,
it's really unique.
And stuff.
And so we're sitting there watching this through the POV of this mask, and we're just kind of seeing out through these two little eye holes here. And eventually the boy, who is one pump chump,
70 seconds.
Like, dude was up there for maybe a minute, and then was like, "All right, I'll see you tomorrow." And I was like, "That's crazy."
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. It happened very quick.
Yeah. But, you know, they go up there. He comes back down. He's putting his shirt on and all this stuff. And he's like, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow." And he ends up leaving and not seeing Michael. And as he leaves, Michael starts to go upstairs. And he hears his sister, who we assume is his sister now, upstairs. And she's, like, brushing her hair and singing and humming and all this stuff. And he kind of walks up to her without her knowing that she's there. And all of a sudden just starts, boom, just stabbing her, going crazy. And we are, like, at that point being put into, like, complicity with the killer here. Because now we have witnessed the murder alongside him. And it makes us feel like as equally as responsible because we witnessed it. And we are now, you know, going to be held liable for anything that might potentially happen, right? So he ends up killing his sister, and then after that he ends up walking outside, and
I think the parents come home.
Yeah, keeps walking outside, and then I have to say too that during this whole intro, it feels like it's done in one take.
Yeah,
and they like cleverly place cuts, like whenever he puts the mask on the camera and all this stuff. But as soon as he walks outside, he starts hearing, "Michael, what are you doing out here? Why do you have that knife?" And then, you know, the mask gets ripped off, and that's when we see that Michael is just this like 6-year-old kid, and he's holding this knife and he's just staring,
dude,
like, out into oblivion. And, you know, the camera kind of pans out and we see the parents kind of looking at him and just kind of staring at him. And then it jumps from 1963 when that murder took place to 1978, present day. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, it is such an intriguing intro to the film, and it really does get you, the audience, just immersed into what is happening. Why am I looking at this through the POV of the killer? And, like, why did he murder his sister? What was the motivation here? Mm-hmm. It leaves all of these unanswered questions that I think are put there for a purpose, and I think masterfully so. Yeah. And, I really enjoyed the intro.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
No, you're fine.
I also have to say, I thought it was really cool. So we talked a little bit about in Psycho how Janet Leigh the woman that was murdered in the bathtub by Norman Bates. Her daughter is Jamie Lee Curtis and would end up going on to star in this movie and then catapult her own career from it and become a scream queen like her mom, right? I also thought that it was a really cool homage for John Carpenter to kind of do the same thing, right? Because we even get these certain shots where like Michael kind of like looks up, his POV looks up to the knife and kind of does the same stabbing motion as Norman Bates and all this stuff. But it's this really cool homage to Psycho, and then it's his own flip on it where it's like now in Psycho we were the ones that were being murdered, right? We were the ones that were
in the shower
with her being killed by Norman. And now the script is flipped here. We are the ones doing the killing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just thought it was such a cool homage to a movie that more than likely inspired this movie. And you know, now it's gonna do its own take on it, and eventually will inspire numerous amounts of other horror movies down the line. Which, I really enjoyed.
I didn't even think about that.
The intro for me is super good. I loved it, but it also was probably one of the biggest moments for me because I was not expecting Michael to be young.
The kid.
Yeah. Or see boobies.
Yeah.
That was the least of my worries in a spooky movie. I was
wild.
Those were some boobies.
Yeah. Yeah. I had even seen a pretty cool fact here about the intro. So apparently whenever they were shooting these scenes, they shot them all out of sequence.
Oh, that makes sense.
And they couldn't get the 6-year-old child actor until the last day of filming. So for I also read somewhere too that like this specific intro shot and scene and everything took like 2 days to film in total. And they couldn't get the little boy until the last day of filming. And so for all the other POV shots that had to take place and everything, it's actually the writer, Debra Hill, that is using the hand POV shots and everything like that.
Oh, really?
And so, like, there are certain shots where you can kind of see, like, her hands might be a little more well manicured or something like that. So it's like actually her hands that are reaching out and grabbing the knife and grabbing the mask and all this stuff. But then there are other shots where it's actually the boy. And and they intercut them together to kind of, save not only on film costs because this was all filmed quite literally, but also to kind of save on budgetary needs as well as much as they possibly could with the small budget that they had.
I did not. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. My next favorite scene is when we get the introduction to who Dr. Loomis is. And I really like the scene where I think time has passed, I think 16 years or something like that. And he's on his way to this sanitarium or this like mental institution. Right. Where we've got told that this is where Michael Myers has been forever. Literally for all of his child and adult life, he's there. And he's with this girl and they're driving up there, and it's like they didn't know that he was out there, right? They were going to get him to stay there. Right. Okay. Right. And they're on their way, and it's like this stormy, dark night. And then they're coming up to this gate, but you already know something's wrong because he sees like some of the patients out in the field just standing around in their gowns. Yeah. And immediately I'm like, what happened here?
Tell me that's not. If I'm driving in the middle of nowhere and I just see a bunch of people just standing still and not moving in white gowns. Yeah. I'm turning around.
Yeah. And it's funny too, even the lady that's driving, she was like, they let them roam around this late at night? Yeah, I'm like, no. And he was like, no, they don't. Something's wrong here. Yeah.
And you can immediately infer that Michael Myers has done something to inspire all this to happen. Right. And he's like, you wait here. I'm going to go to the gate. We're not going to drive all the way up there. And he gets out, and then you see. I think it's Michael, right?
It is him. Yeah.
Where he like jumps on top of the car,
crawls on top of the car, and
the lady's like, and breaks through and is like grabbing her, dude. It is terrifying, honestly. Yeah. And you don't know exactly what's happening and what's going on, but you know that it's Michael and he's escaping.
Yeah. And then Loomis has that line where he says, "He's gone now. The evil is gone."
Yeah. Yeah. It is a classic. And I even extend that too because you don't get a good look at him, really. No. And you don't really get a good look at him until kind of towards the
end
middle,
of
later half of the movie.
Yeah.
And there are all these scenes where we get introduced to Annie and Laura, and they see a guy, or they see like something that's a little out of the ordinary, like that car that he stole that's following them, right? And then they yell at him. He stops, and it's like, what's gonna happen? And he drives off.
Yeah.
That kind of spooks me.
But all of these like subtle glimpses that you can see Michael Myers in this like iconic white mask is like unsettling almost.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's brilliantly done too.
Yeah. One of the things that I heard today in reference to just the entity that Michael Myers is, I have to say I really like the way that John Carpenter refers to him in the script. He refers to him as the Shape, and I think that that's such a cooler name, and it's so much more menacing sounding because the Shape to me feels like something that cannot be described, that cannot be stopped, and it is something that like it's gonna happen no matter what. It is like destiny, right? And for him to get reduced to like, oh, that's Michael Myers, like it kind of, I don't know, there's some sort of personification with him when it comes to Michael Myers, whereas the Shape feels like this bigger outlandish thing, right? And one of the things that I enjoyed was whenever we see the Shape, in the background of things or anything like that, it almost reminds me of like a film like Jaws, where you never know like what's underneath the water, right? And that's what's so scary, right? Because you can't tell when you're in danger or not. And it's something that I heard somebody say called primal terror. And it's like there's this instinct where like you never know if you're truly alone or in danger. And for us, the audience members, we're aware of that, but our characters aren't. And so when we see these shots of like Michael standing in the background, blurry and out of focus, but the characters don't see them.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's
Or
almost
like yeah, it's like he's here, what's he gonna do?
yeah.
And like, oh crap, he moved, he's not there anymore, where is he? I'm scanning every bit of the screen to try and see where I could potentially see him now.
Dude.
Like it's such a good indicator of great tension. And it also gets the viewer so engaged to where you're like, I gotta see where this guy's gonna pop out next.
Yeah.
And then whenever it happens, you're like, oh, there he is. Oh crap, now he's killing someone. Like
Yeah.
it's so good.
I think of the scene where Lori and I think it's Annie is with her. They're walking home, and she looks up, and like there's a bushes of hedges. What are those? Hedges?
Hedge,
You just call them hedges?
Yeah.
And you just see him like half of his body is out there.
Yeah.
And she looks up and is like taken back by it. And she calls her friend to go look, and then you look up and he's like, you see his body just slightly go out of frame, like you barely see him move away, and she's like, you should know something's wrong.
Yeah.
But it's just his presence there, just staring, stalking, but almost in like a confident, arrogant way.
Yeah.
Where you're not like in a bush with binoculars. You're like there.
I am a presence.
Yes.
And like I'm gonna make myself known.
It feels just unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's like then you notice him.
Yeah.
And then he's almost gone like a spirit too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
He's got so quick.
where is this guy?
Yeah.
So he could be anywhere.
Yeah.
But just those establishing shots of who he is, the mysterious killer, the lurker, whatever, the Shape, right?
Yeah.
I loved seeing him just pop up in different scenes like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had seen something as well that like John Carpenter got the idea for calling him the Shape through the Salem witch trials. And like during the Salem witch trials, they would always refer to spirits as like the shapes of spirits or the shape of the devil or something like that. And he kind of liked this idea that like the idea of something being a shape, meaning it could take on any form or be anything. And so if you had something that was like the shape of evil, that could present itself in so many different ways. It could be a man, it could be a creature, it could be, a beast or some otherworldly type thing. Like that whole idea kind of interested him. But yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I wanted to talk about all that.
Yeah. You got any favorite scenes, Abe?
I'm trying to think because a lot of these were bro moments for me for my first time watching this.
Okay.
Because I'm also looking at the stills as well, and immediately after that, I want to talk about I want to say it's Annie dying
In the car?
in the car.
That is so...
I
love that.
I did too.
It was crazy
Because she could die. Like, there are so many opportunities for her to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she gets stuck in the laundry room.
Yeah.
Like, that is a prime example of just getting got
hacked.
right there.
Right.
But no, she gets out
and
of
then
there.
I want to know how the heck she got stuck.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's some step bro.
Stop.
That is some, like, you gotta be real clumsy to
I
get in
guess
that.
you could consider that one of my favorite scenes because honestly, she kind of deserved to die.
You think
Yeah,
so?
she's a little promiscuous girl. Promiscuous girl.
She was just dumb.
Do you think you feel that way because she's also kind of like all of her friends are kind of really jerky to Lori?
Yeah,
Like,
they're
dude-
like, oh, you scared another one away, Lori.
Yeah,
Good job.
They're kind of like jerks to her a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, because
Or you just don't
Lori's
like Annie.
no,
He's-
I don't know. But I mean, like, it was just a bro moment to see. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting him to be in the car.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
so
a good. It's a good scare too. It's
the reveal.
yeah.
Tell us about the reveal, dude.
Dude,
When
it's
she
just-
goes,
So I love the lead up to it where like she's on the phone and she's like crossing the frame, and as she crosses the frame, all of a sudden he appears behind her and he's there for a couple seconds before she crosses the frame again, and then he's gone.
and then he's gone.
Like,
and then
I
dude,
love it.
If you're not paying attention,
you'll miss him.
you're missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like there's even certain shots where she's in the laundry room and like it's a long shot.
It's like
but you can
it's like
see,
through two panes
yes,
of glass.
and you can see him in the back
Yes.
looking at her, and it's like, dude, this guy is everywhere and anywhere all at
He's
once.
everywhere
it feels like.
and nowhere.
Yeah, like
and
it's
nowhere. That's so
it's,
smart.
it's awesome.
That is so true. So then, yeah, it was just again, it was just crazy for me to see her die, and I didn't know she was gonna die. I didn't think she was gonna be the first one to die. I kind of expected another kid to die. Actually,
Fair. The two,
Um,
either the little girl
yeah,
or the
because
boy.
they're so because the kid was like boogeyman, 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 like it sounds like a song.
It does.
He was just gonna shut him up, you know?
Yeah.
Because I thought like, oh, he's gonna be a nuisance. Like he's right there.
Well, he even witnesses him outside of Annie's
carrying
house. Or-
carrying her into the house.
yeah. Well, even before that, he sees him just standing there.
standing there, and he's like, "There's the boogeyman right there."
And of course, no one believes a dumb little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So,
But yeah, gets to the car, doesn't have the keys, goes to get the keys, goes back, and what does she notice, dude?
She notices someone's been in here breathing.
Yeah, it's all hot and
it's
bothered
hot
in there.
and steamy.
Yeah, what the heck is this?
And then you see him in the back
See
seat.
him out of nowhere just go, start choking her out. And then I love that score that comes in. It's like, ding, 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 ding.
You also, I actually watched my movie on my phone, and I had my AirPods in, and I had my AirPods in full blast. And so in here, you hear the score, and you also hear him like grunting and breathing. So
He's
when
like
he
struggling to strangle her.
yeah, and he's like, and you can like in one of my ears you hear the score, and in one ear you hear the grunting. And
Oh, gosh.
I kind of find myself at some points you hear him just grunting normally or just breathing. I found myself looking over my shoulder because I thought I'd hear someone.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it's freaky.
Yeah. But eventually, after he's like strangling her, he's having trouble doing it, it looks like. So then he takes his knife
And
and
just-
freaking goes, and like slits her throat as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even love seeing her struggle too. When she's like trying to honk the horn, trying to get someone's attention.
Dude.
And
those
no
dudes
one's coming to help.
would.
That girl, Lindsay, that she's babysitting, is glued to the screen watching
Yeah.
TV.
She's watching a scary movie too.
Yeah. And
she is.
yeah, that kill is really good.
Yeah.
My next favorite scene actually is the next two kills that happen
With
Bob and the other girl's
Is it
name.
Linda?
Maybe Linda.
I forget her name. I honestly, they were in the film so quickly and they left so quickly. I couldn't
Yeah.
even.
But
Bill, or it was like Bill or Bob.
Bob.
no, his name is Bob.
Is
I
it
remember the guy's
Bob?
Bob.
Okay.
But I forget the girl's name.
Yeah, I don't know the girl, but Bob's killing this. This whole scene makes me. It's a promo. Oh,
I really liked this scene.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
John Carpenter knew what he was doing here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The
and it's phenomenal writing, phenomenal setup. But essentially, how we get to this point, one of Laurie's friends, she ends up pulling up to the house that Annie was babysitting at, and before Annie could ever get any help, she sent away the kid that she was babysitting to Laurie, to Laurie's house across the street where she was babysitting another kid. And so their whole big plan is to like, let's all go to this house that I'm babysitting at and like, let's just all like smash.
Yeah.
Like we'll all just smash our people that we want to smash at this house. Which is what a crazy plan.
Yeah,
But
but don't get it.
Yeah, but they end up Bob and his girl end up pulling up to this house, and as they're walking up to the house, they're talking about like, oh, I'm gonna rip your clothes off. Give me another beer. Which crazy, they're drinking and driving.
True.
But they're taking some sips, and then they start walking into the house, and as they walk into the house, like all the doors are unlocked. They go in. And
the lights are off.
Lights are all off, and they're like, "What the heck? Oh, Annie, where is she? Annie, are you here?" Or something like that. And she's like, "Oh, maybe she went to go get Paul." And then Bob is like, "Oh, well, that means we can get a couple rounds in. It looks like." So they start making out on the couch and all this stuff, and they're totally in the moment with one another in the dark on the couch, thinking they're completely alone. And then John Carpenter pulls that camera out, and we see the shoulder of the shape looking right at her, just watching them both, and they have no idea that someone else is in the home with them.
Nope.
That means them harm. And so that is playing in the back of our minds while we're seeing other scenes intercut with one another. And then eventually it moves to the bedroom. The Bob and the woman end up going into the bedroom, and they end up sleeping with one another. And one of my notes here that I found particularly interesting was, why do they have a jack-o'-lantern on the bedside table?
Do they?
Yeah,
I think they do.
Like it is it's on the bedside table, like lit and everything in the bedroom.
Oh, dude, they do.
And I was like, why is that there? That feels weird to have in your room. Like,
yeah, that's more like porch.
Yeah. But that's
Wait.
there, and I was like, what the heck? Why is that there? But they're sitting there, they're doing their thing, and eventually they don't notice, again, that another shadow is passing on the walls, and you see him kind of pass over as they're doing their thing again. And that just, again, confirms to the audience this guy is still here, and he is actively stalking these people as they are being intimate with one another. And eventually he kind of leaves the screen again and, goes someplace else. And they finish up, and they start smoking cigarettes and all this stuff. And she's like, oh, I want a beer now, right? And, usually, like, the gender stereotype would be like, oh, yeah, the girl, go get me a beer after, right? But she's like, no, you go do it. And so he's like, okay, I'll go down there. So he, like, puts some clothes on and starts walking down. And as he's walking downstairs, this is where I started getting really intrigued. Where
you knew something was about to go down.
I was like, I know this guy's about to get it, right? Because he's going down there by himself.
There's nobody else in the house.
Michael is in this house somewhere. We don't know. And with his given track record, he can be anywhere or nowhere, like Nick had said. And so he's going down there. He's looking in the fridge. He grabs one. And then he, like, starts hearing some noises. And he's like, what is this? Are you trying to scare me? Is my girl trying to scare me? So he kind of, like, looks around.
I think the door opens, like, by itself.
Does it?
I think so.
Okay. So because he looks out that glass door at first. And, he looks out the glass door and is kind of like, oh, who opened this? And then he's like, oh, are you trying to scare me?
Yeah.
And, so he kind of, like, looks another place. There's no one there. And then, kind of opens up one of the closets on the other side. There's no one there. And then the last place he looks, he turns around, opens the door, and out emerges Michael with his knife, grabs him by the neck, chokes him.
Dude.
We see these establishing shots to show just how really powerful this guy is. He freaking lifts him off his feet.
Yeah.
And then impales him with his knife
and
to the closet door. And then he's just standing there, like, stuck.
You see his toes uncurl, and he's gone.
Yeah.
And
it's so good.
Yeah.
And it genuinely did scare me. It was a good scare because I did not expect him to come out, and this entire time they delay these scares the entire time, where you're like, well, you know, maybe the fear or the horror is in like wondering where he could be.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he comes out, I'm like, oh, like, oh, this guy's done.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it happens, you're like, oh man. I even love too, like whenever it kind of pans out, you see him kind of hanging there, and Michael's staring at him, and then he kind of does this like little head tilts as like he's like kind of like happy with what he did, or like he's kind of like almost amazed that it stayed, you know. But then I also have to say I really appreciate these like establishing shots for whenever Bob eventually does get killed, because it gives us like these parameters of the house that Laurie is eventually going to fight for her life in. And so like we know like, oh, if she goes down these stairs, she can get out that kitchen door that previously opened that Bob was so scared about. True. Right? And like it masterfully sets up these establishing shots for the layout of this home that we've become familiar with now.
That's true.
And yeah, I really liked this scene too.
Okay. Can I extend that also to when he kills the girl in the bed?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you think Linda
Yes, I wanted to talk about that too. But yeah, go ahead.
It's so smart.
Dude, I love it. As soon as you see him with the sheet and his glasses over,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, that's him. And she doesn't know.
And she doesn't know. And she's like, she tried to be all playful,
Do you like
teasing
what you
him,
see?
like
You know.
yeah, showing her, you know, being naked and all that. And you just get this brick wall of a ghost. She is absolutely not responding to her. And it's getting kind of like, at first she's like, oh, stop playing, you know, stop being dumb. But then it's like, hey, are you okay? Like this is getting kind of like weird, awkward, unsettling.
Yeah.
Because it's just this wall of a person that doesn't move.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a presence there that is like almost oppressive. And I don't know. I just like the scene of him in the doorway just like
standing
that.
there.
Yeah.
It sets up such incredible tension.
It does.
And like the entire time, we as the audience know, like, Bob is dead. This is Michael.
Yes.
I think
And like he even has like some sort of a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Where like he takes his glasses.
yeah, I was just about to say, it kind of makes me laugh because he's wearing the glasses to put off that it's Bob.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And just the kill of her too, when she goes to call and she gets on the phone with Laurie, and Laurie's like, oh, you know, like it's like, because he's been really good at not getting caught.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's on the phone and you see this ghost slowly walk behind her. You're like, is she going to die before she even gets a word out?
Yeah.
And it's like all of this building of tension. And then you hear, you know, her dying on the
Yeah.
phone, and she's like, oh, quit playing. You know,
Yeah.
why do I got to hear all that?
Yeah. Yeah, he's freaking strangling her.
Strangling her.
Meanwhile, Laurie thinks nocturnal activities are taking place.
Exactly.
And so she's like, yeah, whatever. You guys are being stupid, and hangs it up. But then Laurie is kind of like, something doesn't feel right here.
Yeah.
Right? I'm kind of curious as to what's going on. Maybe I need to go over there and check it out. Right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
she
she puts
hung
the
up
kids
on
to
them.
bed. Right after.
Realizes the kids are already asleep. So she's like, okay, I'm going to go over there and check.
Yeah.
And does anyone have any favorite scenes after this?
Bruh. I'm just looking at the film grab, and
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So this now sets up the iconic part of the movie where Laurie, you know,
he's fighting for her
evades
life.
and tries to defend herself multiple times against Michael.
Yeah.
And she's seemingly the only person that can do it. And so, you know, she encounters the dead bodies and has a couple of scares with the dead bodies. And isn't it pretty cool too? Like she sees Annie like laid out on the bed, and it's Judith
gravestone.
Meyer's gravestone on the bed, and you know she's standing there, and she comes out just screaming,
Yeah.
right? And then all
You
of a
see
sudden,
freaking Bob go,
"Wow,
wow,
wow,"
wow.
like yeah, flinging in the wind.
Stupid.
He's like flinging around, and then I laughed pretty hard whenever we saw Bob's girl, like the cabinet door kind of opens up and we see her, and she's looking like cross-eyed, all like. I was laughing at her death, kind of, but
Yeah.
you know, she's freaking out, right? And then this is one of, if not my favorite shots of the whole freaking movie, was, you know, she gets kind of backed into a corner. Laurie's screaming and crying because her friends just died. And there is this beam of light that kind of flashes across
I'm looking
her
at the
face.
still right now because I saw it
And
and I said,
It
is
so
sick.
good, dude. Like, it is incredible.
Yes.
The use of lighting, the use of darkness here, like the cinematography, the composition of the shot, everything. It's perfect. And she is freaking out at the death of her friends. And there is this like incredibly dark doorway behind her. And as we're watching her cry, what emerges from the darkness?
You see his
but
face.
the shape, right? And, you know, he comes out and you just see the whiteness of his face kind of emerge. And it also kind of reminds me of, like, the way Nevercracker emerges from the darkness in Monster House. But this one is so much more sinister, you know? And, like, he kind of just emerges out of nowhere, not breathing a word, not saying anything.
And
then all of a sudden tries to stab her.
Misses.
And kind of rips her shirt open a little bit, nicks her. She freaks out, falls out over the stairs, and starts running for her
she
life.
falls down the stairs. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so she falls over the stairs, starts running for her life.
Tell me how nail biter it is when she gets to that kitchen hallway
Yeah.
and you see that the door has a rake
Propped up against it so
So
she
she's
can't
go-
open it.
And the whole time, because she really is like, it's almost like that whole stupid trope of like, the door. I'm gonna try the door for 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be not, And then she finally gets the bright idea to break through the glass to get
Yeah.
out. And I was
Yeah.
nail biting the whole time. I was like,
Yeah.
get out of there, get out of there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's menacing too whenever he's like trying to like open the door and it's locked.
yeah,
And then he just starts going boom, boom, punching through it. I was like, this guy's a unit, dude.
Yeah.
He's punching through,
He's
through
huge,
freaking
dude.
wood. And like, puts his hand around, unlocks it, and opens it up. I even like the way he like has his door, like his hand still on the door whenever he opens it around. He's holding the knife, and then she's like,
yeah.
and she like breaks the glass and kind of pushes the rake and opens it up. And I think this is like partly where my fear of being chased comes from.
Really?
Because like as she's sprinting across
You
the
just see-
street to open that door that was previously locked and these kids are sleeping, this guy is just walking menacingly behind her. And it's like, I can't get in here. This is the one place I need to get in here to make sure these kids stay safe. They're asleep. What can I do to wake them up? She like breaks flower pots across the the windows to wake them up. They go down there and open up the doors, but it seems like it's like, dude, open up this door,
And
man.
the kid's
I'm-
going,
yeah, and it's like, come on, open it up, dude. I'm about to die here. It's that anxiety of like impending doom coming to get you, and like having to rely on the goodness of somebody else, and putting that your faith in them that's terrifying to me. But yeah, incredible scenes. Eventually, she gets inside the house, and we recognize. Okay, she's like, okay, guys, go up to the room, lock yourselves in the closet, call the cops. Like, we need to. Or no, she says go across the street. Right? She tells them to go next door to somebody's house and have them call the police. Because whenever they do that, Loomis walks by. And
Yes, you're right. You're right.
and he's like patrolling the area alongside the sheriff, and he walks by and recognizes screaming kids. Let's go investigate this. And so eventually they're kind of sitting down, taking a break, thinking, okay, like I locked him in the house, I'm locked out, he can't get me in here or whatever. And then Lori turns and recognizes that there's a window open. And she starts feeling like, oh, maybe he could be in here, right? And then all of a sudden we see a hand from behind the couch come around, and he misses again. And that's when Lori gets smart, and she recognizes there's a pile of knitting supplies right here. I'm going to grab this knitting needle and stab this guy.
Gets
So,
him right in his
gets
neck.
him
Right in the neck.
And
Jeez.
she thinks seemingly kills him, and she comes around, she turns and looks at him and recognizes like he's just on the floor, staying still. She's like, okay, I got him. He's good, right? Throws his knife away, and seemingly starts to walk upstairs to make sure that the kids are okay. And right as she goes to walk upstairs, she goes back and recognizes he's not there anymore. Oh, crap, where could this guy be again? And then she starts getting in a life or death situation with the kids. And this is a scene that I really liked, where she locks herself in the closet.
You know what? Now that you bring up Psycho, I think of the same thing when they go down to the basement and the light is like
being
it's like
Yeah.
on and off, and it's like moving
Yep.
around. It
Yep.
gives me that same vibe.
Yeah.
And she's so helpless in a like a closet
Literally,
in the
she's
corner,
in the corner.
Yeah.
and he's just breaking down
Everything.
the door to get in. It is, yeah,
It's terrifying.
it is.
And I also appreciated that she tried to like throw him off a little bit, where she like opened the door to the balcony outside to make it look like she like jumped outside and hopefully like tricked him or something.
Yeah.
But he's too smart for that.
Yeah,
And
she's too smart for him too.
Yeah, and I like that like he starts being menacing to her and starts like shaking the doors and all this stuff, and you can hear her just being like like shrieking. And then as soon as he starts freaking breaking down the slats and turning on the lights, she's like,
I can't imagine. I would probably be pooping myself.
yeah.
She freaking gets him though.
Yeah, she freaking grabs one of those wire coat hangers, unhangs it, and then God, gets him in the eye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
jeez.
that's good. And then like he ends up dropping the knife. She
And
grabs it again, and then gets him in the chest.
Dude.
It's
Finally,
super good.
though.
Yeah,
Finally, I was.
yeah,
That
good.
And then that's when Dr. Loomis comes in.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen immediately.
No, not
And
at
I
all.
have to say, I thought that this was really good as well, where the camera uses things in the background to set up tension, and like we see, Michael Myers like laying down flat backed, thinking he's dead now for sure. Right? He
Finally.
got stabbed in the chest, he's done, right? And then he does the Undertaker freaking like stands up, and I watched this guy on YouTube actually uploaded an audio reaction of people in 1978 whenever they saw that scene for the first time. And it was so cool seeing everyone's reaction or hearing it, because you could hear everybody just like as he starts to sit up, everyone just starts going, "Oh!"
No way.
Yeah, it is.
I
It was super cool.
off topic, but I was talking to some of my coworkers, and some of my coworkers are a bit older than me, and I was like, "Oh, do you guys know about the movie Halloween?" And they're like, "Yeah, I watched it in theaters." When I was like,
Yeah.
"One, that's crazy that they can say that." And I
Yeah.
said, "How'd you feel about it?" And they're like, "Oh, I was scared." They're like, "I wouldn't go walk around by myself anymore."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "That's crazy." And then I brought up this scene, and they were like, "Oh no, this is probably one of the scariest scenes ever." And then this specific coworker would say, because their brother would lay on the other side of the bed and then just randomly get up.
Like that.
And I was like, I could see how that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really loved this scene as well too, where he kind of gets up and
She's
is
like
standing up.
walking slowly too.
Yeah.
She doesn't
dude.
hear him.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it's again, it's one of those things where you're screaming at the TV, being like, "Turn around, turn around!" And he eventually goes up to her and starts strangling her. And as he's strangling her, Dr. Loomis comes in with his 6-shooter and puts 6 into him. He ends up flying out the balcony on his back again, and we're like, okay, this guy is dead
He's gotta
now
be.
for sure. He's got to be dead for sure,
Mhm.
right? And they have this back and forth where Laurie says, like, throughout the whole movie, we've been having this notion that there's a boogeyman out there, right, and that it's going to get the kids. And Laurie finally turns to Loomis and says, "It really was the boogeyman." And then Loomis says,
Yes.
as a matter of fact, "Yes, it was."
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of look back over to where Michael's body was, and then miraculously it's gone. Vanished into thin air almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of plays that iconic score again, the ding, 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 and it starts showing us places that all of these atrocities happened. Annie's house, the Myers home, the house that Laurie was babysitting at, all of these spots. And while that's playing, we can only hear Michael's breathing as it's going on. And it just keeps signifying to the audience, like, oh, he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or did he really die? Like, did this all take place in the minds of the characters? Is he even real? Like, was he just an apparition? Like, we don't know, but he's out there still, and he's breathing, and he's gonna get us. Like, there's no way to know.
Mhm.
And the movie ends that way, and I think it's done really well.
It's a pretty solid ending. Not
It
gonna
is.
lie.
Yeah. I kind of think he dies. But obviously he doesn't.
Yeah, because there's 9 other movies.
It only makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, that is Halloween. So, that's it for the favorite scenes. Then let's move into best quotes.
Okay. Do you have the Loomis quote? Because that is by far my favorite. Because it's some of the only, like, when he talks about, like, that boy.
I do.
Okay,
And
I have it too, but I didn't know if we wanted to read the entire thing. It's just, you don't get very much of Michael.
No.
You do not get much, other than the beginning of scene. You don't get his motivation. You don't really get a lot about him.
Yeah.
Other than through what the doctor says.
Right.
I just want to know what is his motivation.
You don't know.
You don't know. That's part of the mystery or the allure about him.
I truly think the motivation is that because she stepped foot on the house.
See, and that might be the thing, but what Dr. Loomis says, and I think this is what I really liked about his quote here. I kind of broke it up a little bit, but he's saying a little bit before this, so I'm taking half of the quote here. What I took says, I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing that is ultimately more scary to me is the fact that this is seemingly random, that the character of Michael Myers is just evil incarnate. He does not have any motivation. He truly just wants to kill. I think that is ultimately more scary than him having a motivation of like, oh, she stepped foot on my porch, or I'm gonna kill people that have sex. You know, like that to me is scarier than having those motivations at all.
True, and I think it's more, it's more not relatable. It's just more applicable to everyday atrocities you see in the world. Like a lot of times things happen and
there's no other way to classify it other than that was evil.
Yeah, like and it could happen to you, and you might never get a reason. It's just the horrors of that side of humanity.
Yeah.
So. Whenever I thought about it more in that context, I understood why we got no. Because at first I was like, why is this little kid acting like this? I don't know. I want to know so bad. I don't get anything, and I wish I did.
Yeah.
But when I started to think more about the randomness, the unknownness, the very nature of who he is, I can see it being more applicable to everyday life.
Yeah, and I think that also leads the person to believe that it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Like because evil is so broad and on the spectrum, right? Because it can vary between degrees of evil. It can literally happen to anybody.
And it does.
Yeah.
So sadly enough, stuff like this does happen.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that fact of the writing here.
Yeah.
So any other best quotes here?
I have one when they're talking to the little kids, I think, and Lindsay says, I'm scared. She says, and Laurie says, there's nothing to be scared of. Tommy says, are you sure? And she nods, and he asks, how? And she says, I killed him. And then he says, but you can't kill the boogeyman.
That's good.
Foreshadowing. A little foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So.
Another one that I really liked from Loomis as well, when he was talking to the sheriff, Sheriff Brackett was his name. And he says a little line that I liked, where they're outside of the Myers home, where Loomis is kind of camping around. And, Sheriff Brackett comes up to him and asks him what he's doing. And he says, death has come to your little town, Sheriff. So that was a really good line, too. And then obviously the funny one, the kind of on-the-nose one from Sheriff Brackett, where he kind of bumps into Laurie and scares her. And she goes, oh, it's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare.
One good scare.
Yeah. Any other best quotes here?
That's it for me.
Okay. Let's move into bra moments.
There's quite a bit here.
There is quite a bit, yes.
My first one, the kids are watching The Thing.
Yeah.
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 What a shameless little plug.
Yeah, and it's the 1951 version, so it's like The Thing from Another World or something like that, which, nice little foreshadowing there. Even does the same reveal for the title logo everything. And everything like kind of burns in and all that stuff. Yeah. I thought that was cool.
Michael being a little kid in the beginning was a big moment.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Seeing him as a child.
Yeah. What about seeing that he dug up his sister's grave?
Dude, for what?
Freaky.
For the headstone to put on the bed whenever Laurie goes and sees it.
He didn't take. He just took the
He
headstone.
took the
right?
headstone. He didn't dig up her body. He just took the headstone.
He also killed someone to get the overalls.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. The I think
There's
it's
like a
mechanic.
random truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bro moment for me because that
Just
Yeah,
out of
it's a kill that
scene.
happens off screen, and Loomis happens to not go far enough to see that there's another body right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That was pretty good. What about Michael killing that dog?
Yeah.
Dude, crazy.
and the
right?
girl just throwing it off. She
Yeah,
goes,
throwing
"Oh,
it off
must
and
have found
hearing and she's like, "Oh, he must have found a dog to love for tonight," or something like that.
How did they get the dog to get limp,
Go
like,
limp like
that?
that?
Dude,
I don't know.
I've read a fact. Actual.
It kind of amazed me that.
What'd they do, man?
They actually like held it and then dropped it, so it was like free falling
Oh.
And then I saw
Oh,
something
did they
too
put it
that
in
like
reverse?
they put it in
maybe?
like slow
in
motion.
slow mo.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because when you hear that whimper and you just see the legs go limp, I'm like, dogs don't do that.
Yeah, they don't.
Dogs do not do that.
They don't.
So
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Yeah. Another bro moment for me was, and this is a bro moment just because it really made me laugh, was Dr. Loomis being a jerk to those bullies, the bully kids that go to the Myers house.
Oh yeah.
I
What
laughed
does he?
at
Doesn't
this.
he say like,
He's all,
"Get off my lawn"?
no,
or
they go up there and they're daring each other. Go up there to the porch and touch the door handle or ring the doorbell or something like that. And they keep calling him Billy. And he goes up there finally, and then Dr. Loomis is sitting there behind these bushes, and he goes, "Billy, get your butt off this lawn." And then they're all like, "Ah!" They go and run away. I was laughing at that part. That was funny.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Um.
But yeah, other than the bro moments we've kind of already talked about.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
is true.
Oh no, I have one last one.
Okay.
Dude, when Lori escapes the house and she is running to go to the neighbors, and then she's like screaming at the top of her lungs, "Help me, help me, help me." She goes to the neighbors. They're there.
Oh, and they turn out the light.
They
They
turn the
close
lights
the
off.
blinds and turn the lights off. I was like, she's screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
And you're really going to just be like, that ain't my problem.
Yeah. That is crazy.
It made me, I was like, the neighbors are a savage, dude.
Yeah.
I was dying at that.
Yeah. Well, in their defense, they're probably thinking it's like kids,
Yeah.
like just messing around, or like, they're these dang
Maybe.
hoodlums.
Maybe,
You know.
but the way she was screaming, I would be terrified.
What about it being a bro moment whenever she's smoking weed in the car?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
to-
and to the cop.
yeah,
and the dad.
to Blue Oyster Cult, "Don't Fear the Reaper,"
Yes.
as
I've
freaking
been
Michael
hearing that song
as
all the
Michael is trailing them, right? So it's like a perfect song to
It
be
is.
like, "Don't fear the Reaper," as
Oh,
your
I
killer
was-
as your killer is following you.
I was thinking how of bro moment when they run into their dad.
They run to the cop and he's like, "I don't smell nothing."
Yeah, like
I'm
how.
like, "Bro, you're gonna smell that." And then
There's no-
and then them revealing like, "Oh yeah, someone broke into this hardware store and they stole rope and
A knife?
a couple of knives, and a Halloween mask." Yeah,
Who could that be?
yeah. Really.
But yeah, I was surprised when she stabbed him, and
Oh,
quote
yeah?
unquote killed him.
in the closet.
Yeah, that was. I was like, oh crap, she really did that.
Yeah, I even thought my last bro moment I had written was Michael taking 6 to the chest,
Yeah,
and
just
like him just go, him getting shot and just going. I was like, dang, dude, like this guy is unloading. Like he is getting every shot to him.
and it's surprising too because usually doctors are like, we gotta help him, we gotta save him, and this guy's
Yeah.
like, no, we gotta kill him.
Yeah,
like,
he's like, I've been with this guy for almost 15 years.
he needs
He
to
is-
die.
Yeah, yeah,
it's wild that it's the doctor.
yeah. I think that's about it for bro moments
Yeah,
for me.
me as well.
If that's it for the bro moments, let's move into some facts with the bros. So AB kind of already hit us with the budget.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up how much is $47 million now in today's.
Oh, 2023?
In
Even more than
2023.
100, over
Yeah.
100 million.
Yeah,
Over 100, I'm sure.
yeah.
But on a 300,000.
This has got to be one of the most successful movies of all time, too, right? Like, got to be up there with Blair Witch Project and all that.
I'm not sure.
While you're looking that up, I will say that in regards to some of the budget, I had read that Debra Hill, one of the co-writers of the film, she ended up not taking a cut for the salary, for her salary, and opted to get some of the box office winnings. And I hear it ended up making a nice freaking chunk of change once this ripped through the box office.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think? How much do you think it is?
It's like $200 million.
Bro, right now I'm gonna guess $189 million.
$221.8 million. It's $47.1. It's $47 million.
That's crazy.
That is amazing.
Now, how much is $300,000?
$300,000.
Right. Well, I want to understand what their budget was. In
Yeah, if
today's
you were
money.
to equate, like if they were to make it today, how much would
Yeah.
they need to
Would
achieve
they-
the same?
Yeah.
1.4 million.
So that's a small budget film.
Yeah.
Like there are movies that have been made for that amount of money today that like barely make their return.
Yeah.
And this dude, $200 million.
200.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I have another fact here that I thought was really interesting. And we had talked a little bit about the making of the film and, how they had a lot of budgetary restrictions and all this stuff. But another aspect of the film that we now have today was because of a budgetary restriction that you would never really think of, actually. But the original script that was written by John Carpenter and Debra Hill was originally titled The Babysitter Murders. And it had events that were supposed to take place over the span of several days. But because of the budgetary decisions and the restricted budget that they had, they decided to change the script to have everything happen on the same day and to make it happen on what they all decided was the scariest night, being Halloween. And because of everything having to take place all in one day instead of over several days, that cut down, the number of days that you had to film, the number of shots that you had to take now, because there were going to be different killings and all this stuff that were going to happen over several days versus everything happening all at once. And that cut down on a lot of the uses of the budget there.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing that I thought was kind of funny because of when it was filmed, since the film was made in spring, the crew had a huge difficulty of getting pumpkins. So there was only 3 pumpkins in this movie. And so the scene where the pumpkin is on the ground, that had to be taken, it's broken on the ground, that had to be taken in one take because they didn't have any more.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So the one where
the little
Tommy
kid
is
falls
carrying
on
it, he falls on it and crushes it.
That was one take.
Oh,
Yeah.
they didn't have enough for pumpkins?
No,
No.
so but later they found another type of pumpkin, but it was green, and they just painted them orange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But
You'd
earlier-
think with some of the freaking movies we talk about, they buy their own field and grow their own pumpkins.
Yeah.
one thing that I thought cool was that I never would have thought of that I kind of want to try now is the stabbing sound effect is stabbing a watermelon.
Oh,
That's
that's the noise that.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I have another fact here, actually, in regards to the budget half of this film. So half of that $300,000 budget was spent on the Panavision cameras and everything like that, so that way the film would have a certain ratio and scope to it. And then Donald Pleasance, the guy that played Dr. Loomis, he was already an established actor. So that was going to bring people into the movie because it's a face that they know. He was paid $20,000 for 5 days of work. And then I think John Carpenter's cut was $10,000 to direct it, and then also have his name attached to the title
Wow.
of the film. So that was a big chunk of the budget there.
Bro, imagine getting $20,000 in 5 days.
Yeah,
That's
must be
still worth
nice.
it today.
Yeah,
I'd be living life.
must be nice.
I would, yeah, I would be
It must be nice.
living big, for sure.
One thing that I thought that was kind of cool too was this story is actually based on John Carpenter's experience that he had in college when he went to visit a psychiatric hospital, and he met a child and stared at him with an evil look, and it just terrified him. Like the look of evil,
Yeah,
and it terrified him.
That's wild.
it is interesting.
I was surprised to read that Jamie Lee Curtis was really disappointed with her performance on her auditions.
Really?
Yeah, she thought that she was not going to get it at all. And when she got the call that she got it, she was like over the moon about it.
That's awesome.
That's a bro moment too. That this is Jamie Lee Curtis, real quick.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, Scream Queen
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
young, 19 years of age. I think this is her film debut, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the first film I ever seen her was in Freaky Friday, bro.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, Freaky Friday.
And
As the mom.
yeah,
With
and
Lindsay
Lindsay
Lohan, yeah.
right, and now she's been in movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and a couple of the
Knives
other
Out.
Halloween.
I mean, she's in
Knives Out, yeah.
She's in a lot of fantastic movies.
Right, she's had a very big career because of this film, which is
Mhm.
crazy. One of the things that I had read as well that I think I really enjoyed as well was, so whenever we are about to watch Michael get shot, for a second, we see that it's just a man behind the mask.
Yeah, and he's got like
right?
a...
And he's got like this like weird eye
Yeah.
thing that are happening, right? And I think those shots are so cool because it really does solidify that this is just a
man.
guy.
Yeah.
that is doing all of this, right? It's not some otherworldly creature or something like that. And for years after Halloween was released, people would tell John Carpenter how horrified they were by Michael's disfigured face. Whenever Laurie pulls his mask off for a moment, and you see it. But all they ever really saw was the ordinary face of the actor Tony Moran, who played the role. And, he ends up getting stabbed in the eye, right? So there's like something that happens there. But then there's like a little bit of special effects makeup that was applied to him and his face for that scene specifically. And Carpenter cites that this is evidence of like the power of the suggestion of in cinema, that an audience can see like a monster on screen, and then, or how am I wording this? Let me say this again. So Carpenter kind of cites this as the evidence of the power of suggestion in cinema, that the audience saw a monster on screen and then so assumed that he must look like a monster underneath the mask, and that they like were totally expecting something else whenever that mask got pulled up.
Okay. I don't know what to expect. I just figured it'd be a guy.
A guy.
A guy.
Yeah, but then the only other, that was my last fact actually, because
Yeah.
I've kind of hit on all of them all.
I'm
Already, so.
done.
All right. Well, if that's it for the facts, what didn't work for this film?
I have a slight complaint, and maybe this is just me, maybe because it's just the way that I watched it. But I have this film was kind of dark. Like I wish was a little bit brighter.
I think it may have been the way you watched it.
'Cause I had my phone all the way turned up. I was inside, like I don't know. It just seemed dark. So maybe I just need to rewatch it. But there's just parts where it just seemed super, super dark.
Okay. Yeah, I know that like that was an issue whenever the film got transferred to like VHS, because then like all this grain and noise kind of got added in that process. But since then, like I watched it on the Blu-ray, and it's been restored to its original quality or even higher to like 1080p HD, and there were parts where like it is really dark. Like I'm thinking of that shot where Michael kind of emerges from that closet doorway.
Yeah.
And it is dark, but you do see like him emerge and into that light, and it really works. That's it. That's a scene where lighting is integral to the scene and to the whole buildup of that whole scene. So if you can't really see it, it kind of destroys that whole illusion,
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think the only things that really irked me were a lot of like Sign of the Times stuff. I chalk it up to it being like 1978. Not that crime didn't exist, but back in the day, people would always say, "Oh, I could leave my door unlocked; it'd be all right."
Right.
And it's stuff like nowadays you're a little bit more on edge, more observant of what's going on around you and stuff. So I kind of am like, how do you not see them? How do you not like take it seriously at all, and stuff like that? And like the way some characters are, sometimes the way they act is a little wild. Like the way that they're like, the way that they die, the way that they moan when they die, and they can't even get one word through the phone. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
I'm 1978, obviously, so it's like they're acting. This is how it was, but I was a little bit kind of caught off guard. And then it is so minor. It is so minor, but she leaves the house to go to see Annie and all them, And then she's running back to the house and the door is locked. I'm like, who locked the door? What? How does? And she's like, bang, bang, knocking on the door. I'm like, why is the door locked?
Well, it could have been easily one of those things where, like, you know, I mean, we do. I do it here where, like, I go out and I lock the door. Like, I turn the little lock on the actual handle, like, as I walk out, and then I deadbolt it after. You know, like, she could have easily just did that, and walked out or something.
I don't know. I just thought to myself, I was like, why? It just seems so, like, cliched, like everything is not where it needs to be.
Right.
It's always in your way, just to where you can just escape death right away. You know, I don't know. It just has a lot of those 1978 quirks about it.
Okay.
And
that's the thing. I don't know if you can necessarily call them quirks because this was the groundwork.
I know.
For horror movie cliches to come.
I know. It's hard to not. It's hard to not. Like, watch it in the context of our time now, and I always have a difficulty of looking back at what it was, when it was,
Yeah, because I was gonna also ask too. How do you feel about the kid actors here?
They're hardly in it.
Yeah,
they're not
significant enough.
Yeah,
I don't think
they did good for what they were. I mean,
but I do have to echo you a little bit in saying that I found myself getting a little frustrated at points, especially like whenever she's trying to open the door. It feels like forever, and I don't know. In my situation, I was like, if I was there, if I couldn't open that door in 2 turns, I am breaking that glass immediately and like trying to do anything I can to get out of there. But she like sits there for a minute and is like jiggling it, and it's like,
it's like,
but then I find myself giving it some lenience because I'm like, okay, this came out in 1978, and it quite literally set the groundwork for horror movies to come. Right. Like, after this movie, there are the horror movie cliches of like, oh, I'm running and I fall down and the killer's gonna get me, and oh, the door's locked, I have to jiggle it a bunch of times before it randomly unlocks right as he's about to get me again, and oh, I thought I killed him, but now he's gonna come back to life. Like, those things all happened in horror movies because of Halloween, and I have to be able to kind of throw that aside. And
it's hard for me, man.
I have to throw it aside and look at it and say this was the first of its kind to do that, and for that reason, it is groundbreaking. And while I may see it all now because I've been exposed to other horror movies that took influence from this movie, to me that's commonplace in movies, and it feels tropey and it feels kind of cop-out-ish. But at the time, that was brand new.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if I put myself in the situation and a character doesn't do what I think is like the most logical thing to do, I'm like,
that's stupid.
Idiot. Yeah, like that's stupid. And I really try not to do that, but it's hard for you to be like, because then you wouldn't have a movie at that point. Like, if you act logically throughout the entire movie, the movies would suck and be boring. But it's ingrained in me to be like, you're an idiot. Like, I'm upset at you. Do it differently, and not just like, look, like, make sure the doorknob is still locked 15 times. I'm like, don't do that. And I don't know. So it's things like that. They're very small little nitpicks that just tugged at me slightly throughout the movie. So also sometimes I feel like Michael Myers is just like teleporting around a little bit.
Too quick?
Sometimes. I mean, like, there's times where when he puts that rake up, it's just there, and he's like everywhere. And it almost seems like a little supernatural at times, like how he could do all this within the time frames and all that. I'm like, well, how long has time passed? He's
supernatural because he survived 6 shots and falling off the 2-story building.
He has to be.
Yeah. And part of me, I like that about him. I like that there is this unknown aspect about him still. There's still a mystery to him. There's a reason why. Like, why did he kill his sister? What did he do in that time span of him spending all that time in the mental institution? Why is he so intent on killing Laurie? Like, there are these questions about Michael that intrigue me so much that make him even more scary to me. And I think it's that not knowing that is what makes him so scary, right? Because, again, he can seemingly be anywhere and nowhere all at the same time. Like, he almost feels like omnipotent.
Yeah.
And, like, he can sit there and just appear right in front of you if you really wanted to, but he's not gonna do that. He's gonna make it harder, you know, for himself. So that way, whenever he finally does get you, it's like satisfying in some way to him, you know.
Like the thrill of the hunt kind of deal.
Kinda, yeah.
I don't know.
I other than that aspect of things being a little frustrating for me, I found that some of the acting kind of sucked. Like especially Annie.
You don't like Annie?
No,
Yeah.
she's a bad actor. And like there are certain parts where she's like on the phone and she's like, "Oh, I spilled butter or some water on my clothes.
God.
Totally, man.
I need to take all my clothes off right here in
Why
the
she gotta get
in the
naked in the
kitchen."
kitchen?
And I'm like, "What, dude?
Doesn't make
like,
sense.
it doesn't make any sense. You got butter on your clothes, and now you're like, oh, I gotta get freaking naked and go
Butt
throw my clothes in
naked.
With
the
the
laundry."
kid in the next door, like the next room, it's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy her acting as well as the girl totally relying on totally all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like it is a sign of the times because that was a thing, you
Yeah.
know, back in the day to say that and it was new.
Totally.
But yeah, I don't know. Some of the acting here is not the greatest.
Totally.
But I digress.
Yeah, that's it though.
Well, if that's it for what didn't work, then what did work?
Dude, there's actual parts in this movie where I'm scared.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think this is a fear where now I will not probably walk at night for a while.
Yeah.
Because you guys know I walk quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And I do fear. No, sometimes. I
It's
mean,
not
our
of
town-
Michael Myers though. It's of
The fear of being
just
followed,
a
though.
person.
Yeah.
But still, now I know for sure I'm gonna look over my shoulder more now than I did before.
Mm.
'Cause
Yeah.
I would walk and I would look over my shoulder if I hear something.
You know, I had read something. You guys know the film critics Roger Ebert and George Siskel?
Yes.
They had that show Ebert and Siskel
Yes.
together where they
Classics.
where they reviewed movies with one another. And I remember I saw a quote where Roger Ebert was talking about George Siskel walking away from this movie for the first time, and he said that he called a cab to take him home even though he lived 2 blocks away from the theater.
Really?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
You need a taser. Is what you need. Imagine tasing him. Do you think it'd even affect Michael?
Probably
Just
not.
be like,
He's a unit, bro. No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have to say, I really enjoyed the writing to this film. I thought that the writing was, while the dialogue may lack a little bit, I think this story and the way that things get set up throughout the movie are really good. I like that Michael is made to feel like this unstoppable force, and that everyone is terrified of him, and that there's this like legend that surrounds him. You know, where like kids walk past the Myers home and they're like, "Oh, don't go to that house." You know, the boogeyman lives there, or there, you know, it's haunted. I like that Michael Myers gets referred to as the Shape. I wish he got talked about in that way more often. I think the use of tension throughout this movie is like masterful at some points. I really enjoyed watching him like stalk his characters and having that feeling that he could quite literally be anywhere. I also have to say that like the writing for this film as well as the cinematography, everything about it, it has cemented itself in pop culture for 45 years now. This movie came out in 78, and if we look at 2023, it's been 45 years since this movie has come out, and it's had countless sequels and reboots since then, and it's just proved itself to be so incredibly influential to the types of horror movies that came out after it and even to this day. And I have to give it its dues for that. So
Yeah, for sure.
I think this movie, I feel like I can rewatch this specific movie.
oh yeah, I think so too.
This one, I can go back to it and I'd be like, bro, like I'm still scared,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. Like even though they made so many, I'm not gonna watch those. If you're gonna say let's watch Halloween, I hope it's this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever watch the other ones.
I don't think there's a need for it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think the way they ended this movie was perfect for
It's
it.
great. And
Even though I
leaves-
kind of don't agree with it because I think he should be dead.
but it leaves the audiences scared.
No, and that's
Like,
why
and-
I like it.
And that's the thing is that ending leaves the audience unsettled.
Yeah.
Did he ever really die? And like hearing that at the end of it, you're like, he's still out there.
Yeah.
And when I leave
100%.
this theater, he's gonna get me.
Yeah. 100%. I 100% agree with the ending
Mhm.
and why it's there.
Mhm.
I don't like it because I think he should be dead.
Mhm.
Well,
But-
is he human? I mean, like,
Yeah, that
you
calls
cannot
into,
take 6 bullets
Yeah.
and continue breathing. Like,
that calls into question tons of other things.
yeah, like
Yeah.
there has to be something. There's
Yeah.
it just begs.
I
the
think in later
questions.
movies they start saying like, "Oh, he was part of the occult, and he's like the spawn of Satan." And all
Yes.
this stuff, and like all this other stuff. They try to explain it all away, and it ends up killing it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
The unknown is what
is
What
where
we
the
like.
horror is. Yeah.
the shape. That's why the shape sounds so enticing. It's like,
Yeah.
what shape scares you, man? A square?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. A rectangle.
Ooh.
I am
Rectangular.
rectangular. Feel it in my bones.
Speaking of iconic songs,
Yeah.
the score to this, it's incredible. And I have to say, for as minimal as it serves the film so well.
Yes.
And it really does add a whole layer of tension.
Oh yeah.
To
builds
it as well.
Yeah, it builds
Like-
the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Really, it really does a lot. Like
Yeah.
and to put it at the beginning, I think was and just having like the subtle variations of it throughout the scenes too.
Yeah.
Like it just is the best.
Yeah, I'm even thinking of like
It's
little
simple.
offshoots of the score where like something's about to happen, or you heard something in the night and you hear like the piano go like dun 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 dun
Mhm.
dun dun dun. Like it's like this little like, do I want to go out there and look? This
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
shady to me. I don't know if I want to go out there. Like it's little things like that that just add so much to the layers of tension that are already being, put up on.
Right.
It's good. Lastly, or I shouldn't say lastly, cinematography here is great. I really enjoyed this, and I saw this today. I laughed at it real hard. But the guy that did the cinematography for this movie went on to do movies like, if I'm not mistaken, he went on to do movies like Jurassic Park
Oh wow.
and like big movies like that. And then further did movies like some other other horror movies, and then also did the cinematography for Jack and Jill.
You're lying.
I swear.
Oh, dude.
He's credited for being the DP for Jack and Jill.
Oh.
So the guy that
Widely regarded as one of the worst Adam Sandler movies of all time.
so the guy that shot this movie and photographed it also has done a movie where Adam Sandler plays a girl version of himself and they fart in sync with one another.
Dude,
That
he
is
also, he
wild.
also did Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh.
Yeah. It's thinking about that is so funny to me.
And The Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last one for me, I think Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasance are phenomenal in this film. I really do not see why Jamie Lee Curtis thought she was so bad in the movie, because she does great.
She
genuinely.
does.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
does kill
And
it.
I really do like Donald Pleasance in this film as well. He does such a good job of selling this like, no, you don't know Michael like I do, and he's someone that should be feared type thing. And I really do enjoy his performance here as well.
I didn't really care for him.
All right, why?
Mr. Loomis?
He was just out to get him.
Well, you can understand why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he's
knows.
killing somebody. People,
He
but-
knows him.
Yeah. So
Half the time we tried to learn him. The other half we tried to keep him there.
yeah. So, all right, is that it for what did work?
Mhm.
I think it all hits it on the nail for me, for sure.
Okay, who wins this movie?
I think Jamie Lee Curtis for me.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm saying Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee as well.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Any themes here? Stay a virgin.
Same as the It
Yeah.
Follows episode. No humpity dumpity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I had read a quote them saying like it's not the fact, like it just happened to be the reason that they weren't like being
They weren't
present.
aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
they're
because
preoccupied.
Yeah, they're just preoccupied. Not
I feel
there
like
was
that's,
no
I
there,
feel like also that's the best way to be preoccupied. Because your attention
What are you talking? No, I think I understand what you're saying.
Gotta
Like,
play
in a-
Marvin Gaye.
in,
I've been really trying.
in a
baby.
movie, how else are you gonna get a male and female character occupied?
That's true. And it's also like the drive for
Talk
them.
about the current economic and political state of the world. I'm just joking.
Yeah, that'll really get them going.
They'll be sitting there for hours.
Like, no, dude, I don't think you understand. The dollar is losing its value.
They're all like having existential crises.
We need to start having this. We need to start having the plan for food. We need to have a food supply for 60 days. Come on.
Start buying your bacon.
Start buying the canned goods.
Seriously.
I also wrote down the theme of we get this scene whenever Lori is in school and she's being taught in her English class about fate.
Two different ideas about it.
Right, and how there are two different ideas of fate, and how ultimately at either way you look at it, fate is going to come to you at the end of things, right? Because it is inevitable. And I don't know, it kind of maybe having Michael Myers be this personification of fate, right? And that's why he can never really be stopped, right? Because he is fate encompassed in a person. But this just so happens to be that fate is evil, and fate is looking for your downfall, and how you can never really escape it. I kind of took that way as well, which I thought was pretty cool. But
Yeah. I can see that because the ending is like, oh, he's not dead.
Yeah.
Fate is still.
fate
You're
is
still
there.
bound.
You're still
bound to
bound
him.
to it, right?
Yeah,
You're
bound.
still destined for whatever it is that fate has in store for you.
Yeah, it might not have been that night, but other nights
be
will
sometime.
prove to be maybe horrible.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Any other themes?
Mm-mm.
All right. What are we rating this?
I'll go first. I'll give it an.
He was so confident.
Then he
Yeah, I thought about it.
He was like, I'm going to get.
I'll give it a 9.
Oh.
I was gonna give it an 8, but I am gonna give it a 9 because this. I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah.
There wasn't nothing really wrong for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared. I think I don't want to walk for a while.
Yeah.
And I think this is a movie. I think this is the only Halloween movie you should see.
Okay.
And don't follow the line. Just keep it open, and have the thought that he's following you,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's what's gonna instill the fear in you.
Right.
Oh, wow. I'm giving this one an 8. I'll do the 8 for you. I really enjoyed it. The tension was working for me, so.
Okay.
A good one.
I'm gonna echo AB and give it a 9 as well.
All right.
I really enjoyed it, and I think this is gonna be the same thing I said with The Thing. When we watched The Thing, I originally gave it a 9, but I had said that I think on rewatches it's gonna be a 10.
Yeah.
And The Thing has shot up to a 10 for me.
Really?
Yeah. It's been one of those movies where I'm like, this is. I don't know what I was thinking when I didn't give it a freaking 10. It should have got it because it deserves it. I think this might be one of those movies again where I'm like, I'm gonna give it a 9. I'll say it's a 9 right now, but maybe on subsequent rewatches, I might be like,
Dude, that's a 10.
dude, this is a freaking 10. Like, why did I even think it was something different? So,
Dude, I just wanted to know. Once you know that I was about to say something stupid when you said, and the thing was it's a 10 for me now. I was about to say what thing?
yeah,
Only time will tell.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
as of right now, a 9, but it's tentative. Might potentially change. So,
I give it a 9.
all right. Well, that's it for this episode, and also for the Halloween movies, because after this, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program. So, if you enjoyed, this little Halloween series that we do it every year whenever the month of October comes around. So let us know what you thought. And if you're tuning in with us for the first time or you're a returning viewer, let us know what you thought about the episode over a comment if you watched it on YouTube, or a rate and review through the audio platforms that you may have listened to us on as well. If you are watching on YouTube, after you leave a comment, leave us a like as well, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notifications so that way you're notified whenever those uploads happen. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, subscribe to us there on your preferred platform, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google. We upload through all those platforms. And then also, again, leave us a rate and review and let us know what you're thinking of the episode. If you don't want to reach out to us on a public platform like that, then you can click into our episode descriptions and follow us on Instagram, our Letterboxd accounts, or you can email us directly and let us know what you're thinking that way. But as always, we're going to reveal the next pick for next week, which is going to be Nick's pick.
Yes. This was a hard week for me. There's quite a bit I want to do and also not want. Like, there's so many options. I'm like, I really have to decide what I'm doing. You said there was no more scary movies, but I think I'm going to go with a movie that we haven't done. We've never done a zombie movie.
Okay. No, Zombieland.
Yeah, but a zombie movie that is like an actually seriously like tense, scary zombie movie. Like your classic zombie movie.
Zombieland's pretty serious.
I don't count it. I don't count it. I don't count it.
No, I'm joking. I don't think it is either.
But I am doing
Please tell me we're doing Resident Evil.
Absolutely not. I know you want to. You got to wear your whole raccoon suit.
Umbrella Corps.
You got to. No, we're not doing that. We're doing actually a South Korean film that it's in Korean, but it is a zombie apocalypse, and it's called Train to Busan. This movie I had watched a long time ago. It was on Netflix, and I really, really freaking enjoyed it. It's like a really classic zombie movie, but it also has like every single form of humanity in it. Like, you see people who are extra greedy, and you just hate them because they're like wanting to only protect themselves and at the expense of others. You see other people who are willing to step up and protect when they don't really need to. It's just part of their character. And you see like just a man trying to protect his daughter. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It came out in 2016. I think I watched it a couple years ago.
Okay.
But it's like a classic zombie movie that I enjoyed. And you guys haven't seen it yet, right?
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've only ever heard its praises sung by Quentin Tarantino.
Really?
Yeah, and he's talked about how great of a film it is.
Okay.
And that's all it's ever been on my radar is through him.
I feel like I've heard of it before, but I've never seen it, and I never knew it was in Korean.
It is, yeah. So, but it's one of those things where, you know, I know that we always talk about being put off by subtitles and all that, but
I'm excited for it.
When you put it in context of a zombie apocalypse, it's kind of like that's almost a universal thing to go through.
Right.
Yeah, who
like
doesn't
if
go
you
through zombie apocalypse?
Right, and it's kind of you really, when you hear zombie apocalypse, you already have these mental images of what you think is going to go down, and you hear Train to Busan, so you can already put two and two together. There's zombies on a train.
To Busan? That's crazy.
It's almost like you don't really even need dialogue. Although I remember the dialogue being great, but you don't really need it. You just want to see the zombies, and how they defend and all that stuff. Right. So
I'm excited because I feel like one of the greatest films I've ever seen, which is Parasite, is a Korean film. So it's like, I know there's great cinema out there that's not just American cinema.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited. Anytime we do a foreign film, I'm excited because it just shows me more.
Yeah.
I'm excited to return to this. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Fubo. It's on Peacock Premium. I even see it here being on Paramount Plus, Showtime, and the Roku. It's pretty available, man.
Yeah, I saw it on YouTube for free.
Okay.
Well,
man, last time you said that about a movie, we had.
I know, that's what it says right now. So if you go and check it out now on YouTube for free, you should be able to watch it. But I've seen a couple other platforms that it's free on, as well as like Pluto TV and things like that too. So.
I think you said it was on even Max, no?
No, we were talking about.
We were talking about another movie that we got in the pipeline potentially. So
yeah. So I hope, I know it's still in the. We just kind of got past Halloween, but it's more of a. It is still kind of scary, but
maybe thrillery.
Yeah, it's more thrillery. But I think we'll enjoy it. Hopefully.
All right.
I'm excited.
I am too. Tune in next week to hear what we have to say about Train to Busan. As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.